welcome you into yet another episode of Scrushy on Business. My name is Dave Green. Richard Scrushy is alongside. I like to remind everyone he's the star of the show. Mr. Scrushy, how are you this week?
Man, I am doing great. I tell you, every week, week to week to week, every week it gets better and gets better. I tell you, we've had a lot of folks calling in, getting in touch with us, sending emails in, and we've been answering a lot of those things, but a lot of those questions. But I'm going to tell you right now, today, Dave, we are blessed today to have we talk about serial entrepreneurs. We had that show we talked about real entrepreneurs are not just people with visions, but they're people who actually are willing to take the risk of a business. And that means putting their own money, putting themselves on the line. And today we have got a guy that has done that over and over and over. And I'm proud to have my friend on the show. His name is Lamont West. Lamont, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you. Thank you for having me, Richard and Dave. Like I told Richard earlier, I've been following the podcast and I'm a fan as well, man. I hit the subscribe button already. So I'm getting a lot of value out of the podcast so far.
I have to say this. I have a lot of friends in Houston. I've been out here now many years now, since 2009, I guess it is. I've been a Texan. And I have friends that knew Lamont, and we socialize, and I found myself in a meeting one day, and I'm sitting across the table from this guy, and so I'm listening, and it's nothing productive. It was just a bunch of doctors and a bunch of people in healthcare, and they were all talking.
Yeah.
No business came out of it or anything like that, but we were just sitting there chatting. And out of all the people in the room, this guy impressed me more than anybody else in there, including all the doctors. And so I was listening to him, and as we got ready to leave, I said, "Could I get your phone number?" I said, "What was your name again?" Because I wanted to follow up with this guy, and so I did. And he and I had lunch one day, and we had a great lunch, and that was the beginning of a friendship that has lasted for a good while. And I just want
Wow.
to tell y'all that I'm honored to have him today. And Dave, he's going to go back, and I asked Lamont, I said, if you come on the show, I want you to go back to when you first got out of college. What did you do? How did you get started? And let's go through some of the things that you did, Lamont. Dave, is this a good time for him to go ahead?
Absolutely. Let's hear your background, Mr.
Oh,
West.
okay. I was thinking about that, Richard. I think I got to go way back to the eighth grade, actually.
Oh,
We had an old Texas history teacher. We didn't have the computers and all of that stuff back then, right? So on Fridays, he used to give us words of the week. And over the weekend, we had to go to the library and find out and learn the definition. And that was part of the grade, right? Coming on Monday.
mhm.
The whole year, there's only one word that I ever remembered, and that was entrepreneur,
Wow.
right? I didn't know that then, but that's the only thing that I got an A for that definition. So as I went
Could
to
you spell
play
it? Could you
basketball,
spell it?
got a scholarship playing basketball, and around my junior year, it was in South Texas, and weather get to be about 100 degrees in South Texas. So me and a buddy of mine, we were driving, and we seen a guy outside cutting his yard, and he had a smile on his face, right? And I roll the window down, and I say, listen, I go, what do you do? I mean, it's 101 degrees outside, and you cutting the grass with a smile on your face. He said, oh man, I'm a pharmaceutical sales rep. He said, I work for Pfizer. And he was telling me, he go, I'm going to the Mike Tyson fight over the weekend, so I'm just getting the yard in place. And I go, really? I say, well, I want to be a pharmaceutical sales rep. If you're smiling, cutting the grass, if you're going to a Mike Tyson fight, I want to be a sales rep. And just a small conversation, and this is what he told me. He go, "Are you serious?" I go, "Yeah." He said, "Okay, um, I'll mentor you. I can mentor you as a pharmaceutical sales rep, right? And that way it'll help you on your resume, right?" So I did an internship just by rolling down the window and just asking this guy a couple of questions, and now I got internship from Pfizer on my resume before I graduate,
Love
Wow.
that.
right?
Go. Got to step out.
So proceeded to graduate. I moved all the way to Oakland, California for my first pharmaceutical sales job.
Hmm.
And this is when things got interesting. We had the expense account, we had the car, we had all the things, right? But I really wasn't happy, right? It was a product, and not get into the weeds, but I really wasn't happy with what I was doing. So it was I loved the idea, but I didn't love the product. So I had a shift. Okay. From that point, I started doing mortgages. Okay. And this is where we fast forward. So we do the pharmaceutical sales rep. That's really not entrepreneurial. That's following a passion, I thought. In the mortgage business, same thing, right? Had W-2 income. I loved helping people. Okay. But still really not taking any risk. So if we fast forward to 2009, so 11 years I'm in the mortgage business. 2009 when the crash happened, that's when I started to think. I go, wow, man, I really don't have control over really what I'm doing, right? If the Feds move the interest rates one way or another, it can wipe out my pipeline, and now I can't buy groceries, right?
There you go.
Um, so I was in my office. I remember this vividly. I was in my office and I was paying this guy for marketing. And I say, wait a minute. In my mind, I was like, if he's charging 100 people what he's charging me per month, he's doing pretty good, right? So I pick up the phone and I call him. I say, listen, man, I know what you're doing and I like it. He said, what are you talking about? He said, what are you talking about? I said, no, if you got 100 clients on what I'm paying you, you're really not hurting for money, are you? And he just started laughing, right? He just started laughing. And I was like, okay. I said, listen, if you have an affiliate program, I had seen some internet stuff and I was worried about, affiliate program. I go, do you have an affiliate program to where I can sell your product and make a little money? Because I'm mortgage crisis, I need some cash right away. He said, well, let's meet. Okay. So a couple of days later, I met with him. I had my suit on. I was suited and booted. I was telling Rich, I was suited and booted. This guy came in flip flops and a golf shirt. And so what I did was I started to learn how to do digital marketing. I worked for him for a while, and I remember this vividly. We became pretty good friends. I say his name is Tim Dillard, amazing guy. And one night, I remember exactly where I was. I was in front of my house, and I was on the phone with him. And he said, "You know what, Lamont?" He go, "If somebody bring you something, man, you know how to kill it." He said, "But you really don't. You don't know how to go out and get it." And I was like, "Where's this coming from?" Right? Like just out of left field. So we continued to talk, and then hang up the phone. But those words did stick with me, right? What I told him, I said, "No, Tim." I said, "Listen, I did mortgages, right? I was 1099." He said, "True." He said, "But it wasn't your license on the line." And he got me thinking, okay. And then so what I did was I was like, you know what? I'm really gonna just jump off the cliff and go. So he taught me how to some basics as far as marketing, doing lead gen, all that good stuff. So I started my own digital marketing agency, okay, we do lead gen for companies. We build our websites, we get the leads coming in, okay, and then we sell them or we sell the website. We flip the website either way. So we was doing pretty good in that. I was self-sufficient, making my own money, no problem. When I think it was Hurricane Harvey at the time, okay, I had this one fence website that we had just completed. The leads were coming in, and I was looking to sell it, but I couldn't. Well, when Harvey came in, a couple of buddies, man, just so happens to be at my house, and we got locked in for like 5 days, okay. And I haven't seen him in a while. I said, listen, what do you do? What are you doing these days? Well, he was telling me it was a contract. He put up fences. I said, well, I got this old fence website, man. I can't sell that thing for anything. You can have it, right? You can have it. And so I gave it to him. After everything cleared, okay, I'm being long-winded because this is the foundation. When everything cleared, with Harvey, was over, I reached out to him and said, okay, where do you want me to transfer the domain? And he said, you know what, man, I don't really want it. I don't want the website anymore. I said, okay, cool. well, these leads are coming in. I don't know how to do fences, right? I don't have a clue. So when the leads are coming in, I was like, well, I at least need to service it until I can get it sold. So I watched a YouTube video on how to put up fences. I went and bought me my first pair of Wranglers,
Oh,
right?
wow.
And I asked my son, and my son was like, listen, I said, you want to go out and at least we can go do the estimate, right? And then and we can, get it sold. Dave, when we went out there, okay, I walked around, okay, talked to the homeowner. I got back in a car and asked my son, I go, what do you think about that? He say, Dad, I kind of like it. So boom. Okay, I said, we're not selling the website. We're going to start a fence business. So it was a little, yeah, it was a local fence business. And we started out, it was me and my sons, and the goal was for me to create something for them to where they don't have to go work for someone else. I want to show them that they can create their own, they can sustain themselves, right? So we go down that path, and I was selling. I was generating the leads, going out, selling the fences, selling it, and then we go out and we install it. Well, for a hundred linear feet of fence, it would take us a week to do 100 linear feet. So I learned real quick. I go, man, this is not a winning formula. You know what I mean? We can't sell it, build it, and do all that. So I went to my fence supplier, okay, and I go, listen, I said, can you guys recommend me to someone who can install fences, right? And they go, yeah, man, we know just the guy. So I got a referral. Like a couple of days after that, I met with him. I said, listen, I'm doing all the marketing, okay? I'll go sell it. How much would you charge me? Just labor. I'll buy the materials. How much would you charge me labor to put the fences up? So we worked the deal out. Now we're really in business, right?
There you go.
So we getting the leads in now, and we doing such good work, and we go from doing 100 linear feet in 5 days to doing 300 feet in 3 days, right? So now we got some momentum behind us. Um, and so we went, and these guys, not only were they good at residential fencing, but they were also good at commercial. I'm talking chain link, wrought iron. They did custom gate bills. We did all of the gate operators, the whole 9 yards. So we learned the whole fence business inside and out. Okay. In a short period of time, we went from 100% residential to doing 90% commercial work for all of the companies here locally here in Houston. So we had some of the best fence guys around, right?
Wow.
So, yeah. So that's how we started, and then with the fence business. And
Wait,
so,
wait, hey, Lamont, hold
yeah,
up a second. Let's just go back on that because I know where you're going next because of
yeah,
story is phenomenal. Now let's just back up just a moment, okay? And I know
yeah,
Dave may have a question or two, but you had to learn. See, this is one of the things I tell young people all the time. You got to do some things before, if you can do some things before you go out and try to build a business, like you did. Okay,
yeah,
pharmaceutical sales. You learned about that. You learned about sales. Now, and some of those skills that you got from that, you used in the fence business. There's no doubt.
a
Just the
hundred percent.
people. And then from that, and you went in the mortgage business, you used the skills you learned from the pharmaceuticals and mortgage. And then when the mortgage business, you woke up one day and you said, well, wait a minute, I'm going to lose my pipeline here because, the government can shut me down and I'm going to go hungry and can't buy groceries. I got to think of something else. But anyways, you ended up in this business now where you have total control of this business. You've taken the full risk. You saw the vision, you had the vision. Okay, now that's part of it. And now you've taken the risk. So that made you an official entrepreneur. Okay.
Yes.
Now you're out there, you got the risk. Okay. Now this is the sweet part, Dave. Have you got any questions, Dave, before he goes into this? Because this happens to people a lot. And
Mhm.
what he's getting ready to tell our audience here is that he is working hard out there. And by the way, I'm not going to get you to tell the story about your son telling me that, hey dad, this is hard. But putting up fences, I know it's hard work because I've helped put them up. My dad, we put up fences
Yeah.
on his farm and I had to get out there and help him. But now we're going to go to another level. and an eye-opening experience that Lamont had, and he did something about it. So, Lamont, I just wanted to preface that what you're getting ready to say. Okay, go ahead.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so it's like it's I think you hit on something too, Richard, is it's the be do have, right? The principle of be do have, right? So as we become great, as we become more skilled at whatever it is that we do, right?
Hmm.
We start to do more, right? Because we become more skilled at it. And as we do more, we have more. And I think a lot of times we want to skip the be and the becoming that thing, becoming an expert at that one thing. We want to skip that part, and we want to skip the things that we need to do to have success, and we just want to have,
That's
right?
it. You're
So,
right.
that's part of the process. And so while putting up fences, so a buddy of mine who I haven't talked to this guy since high school. Also, it's funny how it all goes full circle. But I got a phone call, and he was like, he wanted to reconnect, and so we reconnect. He goes, "Look, I want to meet you in Austin, and I want to show you guys, show you what I'm doing now." It was me and a buddy of mine. So when we reconnected, he owned a biologics company. Okay, so when he owned the biologics company, he was just sharing with me that he buy them, he build them up, and he flip them, right? So we got a real good insight from somebody who I grew up with when I was really young. So all of a sudden, there's no limits for me at that point, right? Because I knew him since I was a little kid, and if he could do it, not wanting what he has, but I just knew that if he could do it, this is something that's attainable, right? So we listened, and so we started. He educated us, man. It's by grace too, because he didn't have to educate us on this particular field, right? So I'm forever grateful for that. But that got me into the biologics field. Okay. And so once we got into the biologics field, I told Richard, once I got a taste of the biologics money, right? Now the fencing, I couldn't justify digging holes. Okay. So from that point on, and I gotta tell the truth and shame the devil too. So I was putting up a fence, and we doing really good in biologics, and I was getting dressed, getting ready to put up a fence, and my wife looked at me. She go, "What are you doing?" She said, I don't know if you still should be putting up the fences after you got this going, man. Things are going pretty good with this. I was like, you know what? You might be right, man. So we shifted from, doing the manual labor part and really got an opportunity to experience um, residual income, right, at a high level, right? So the same principles applied though was we we get a vision, we find out where the opportunity lies, right? And then we just apply ourselves to capitalize to partake in it. So
Lamont, let's talk about residual income. What you found out is that to make money, you got to sell a fence, and you put up that one fence, and you make money on that one fence. But
yep,
what you found out in the biologics business is that once you got a customer that was a buyer, you might not have to do anything else, and they would keep buying and buying and buying, because once they became the customer and you gave them the right price and you had the right product and they were having good results for that product, they would reuse it and reuse it and reuse it. So that was that residual continuing income that you woke up and said, "Hey, this is a lot better
yes,
than digging holes and putting in fences." Not, hey, nothing against folks that put in fences, because by the way, man, I need a new fence right now, but I'm
yep.
not
Hard
Hey,
work.
going to month.
some of the best days of my life, and I'm not scared to go out and put a fence up right now, right? I love the work too. I love connecting with the people. And when I used to go out to the job site, and we deliver the product in, and some of my fence guys, man, when I grab a couple, I grab a 50, 60-pound bag of concrete on both hands, I'm walking it down that hole, and they're telling me, no, no, you don't do that. And I used to tell them, don't try to steal my workout.
There, there you go.
We don't mind doing the work. Um, you know, I would be the thing about it, what I've really learned too is this. And as an entrepreneur, we I've learned that as I submitted, to God as the sovereign ruler of my life, okay, then I start to notice how He gives me assignments. So not just business opportunities, but now look at that as an assignment, right? Meaning, can I find purpose in it? And finding that only way you find the purpose is how many people are you truly serving, right? So now I went from, we serving the client, the customer, from, when we do the fences, but in the biologics, you serving people on a greater level. And once we got a taste of really truly serving the masses and learning how we can bring more value to the marketplace, right? Um, by creating bigger opportunities that help more people, and being able to communicate that in a way to where everybody wins. And man, there's no greater feeling in the world. So now I don't even look at it as work. I done transcended to the point to where it's how many people can we truly impact in a positive manner. And as we do, what I find as I do that, when I get up in the morning, when me and Richard talking, is it work, Richard?
No, no. We just it's social. We just enjoy talking
Yep.
about things that are going on, and especially in the biologics area,
Yep.
because there's a lot of new things happening in biologics, and we've seen some changes. Like that change down in Florida recently, where they
Hmm.
are now allowing them. They said the heck with the FDA. I mean, doctors can now inject patients with stem cells. I read that not long ago. That's pretty
Yeah,
incredible, wasn't it, Lamont? But
it
those
is.
are, I mean, we're seeing a lot of really neat stuff. But when you find something you like
Mhm.
and you're able to do that, it's not work. It's
It's not work.
no. And so, you've come a long way from the Bay Area, huh? Now and from a
Three.
pharmaceutical, but you learned so much as a pharmaceutical rep. But you saw that was not something you want to do because you weren't getting the satisfaction from the customers that you were actually doing, something good for them. I mean, is
Yeah,
that
that's it. That's it. Have y'all heard of like the four levels of value?
give it to us?
Okay, so it's a guy, man. He's a phenomenal guy too. His name is Myron Golden. Okay, so he taught on this. He taught on the four levels of value, and how on the full and it's backed is really backed by scripture. So we can get into the scripture if you want to, but it's backed by scripture. But I'll just talk about the four levels of value. It start out as the implementation phase. And when you learn this, you can pretty much operate any type of business, and you can interact by bringing more value to the scenario. So if the true goal is wealth and abundance, um, then if we're on the implementation stage, right, that's a physical act. So we can never reach wealth and abundance, which is spiritual, by doing something physical. Okay. So while I was putting up those fences, there's no way that, and what I consider wealth and abundance is having all my needs met and having my time.
Mhm.
Okay. So there's no way that I will have my time as an implementation stage because I have to be the one out there doing the work. Okay. So the next level up is the unification phase. That's like upper management. Now that's more spiritual in nature because you're training other people to duplicate yourself, which give you more time,
Mhm.
right? And you're going to make more income as you go up in the levels of value. You generate more revenue. That's the implementation phase. I mean, the unification phase. The next phase is what we was touching on earlier, Dave, is communication. Okay. And I call that operating above the line. When we know how to communicate properly and train people how to carry out our vision, and then you have other people doing the work. So now you're two levels removed and you have your time and money's being generated, right? Revenue's being generated. And then the highest is the imagination.
Hmm.
Okay. So in the imagination phase, that's when we use our mind to create opportunities to serve others, communicate that so people can manage our vision, and we can create jobs for everyone else. So now when I see a business model, it's like it depends on where do you want to enter that space. So by the grace of God, I no longer choose, and I will, right? Because I think at different levels, we got to do different phases, right? But if I'm starting a business, I'm always looking at how can we communicate this thing? Is that me?
Yeah, go ahead. You're good.
Yeah. How can we communicate our vision effectively to serve more people?
Mm-hmm. Good point.
Great. Yeah,
Okay.
no, that's fantastic. I thought one of the other interesting things you brought up earlier too was the idea of strategic partnerships where you had a company and my business is media, and I talk all the time about the number of companies that I see that are good companies, good people, maybe a good product, but they don't have the marketing or the way to get out there in front of more people. They're just, constantly waiting for referral business, which is fantastic and the slowest possible form of media
Yeah.
that's out there, if you want to call it that. So the idea that you were able to, talk to a company that needed the marketing help, but you guys
Yes.
needed the labor help, it sounded like it turned out to be a pretty good, deal for everyone.
Yeah. Pretty. It was. It was a guy. He came to my office. This is another thing, but we created a mobile app. We had me and two other guys. We had an app on the marketplace. It was on Apple and Android, right? So we had a marketing office at the time, and it was a young man came in, and he was trying to sell it. He was his goal was to sell us a website. And when he sat down, I was listening to him. I was like, you know what? I was like, okay, I see what you're trying to do. I say if you were to do this, this, and this, and I taught him basically how to create the websites with lead gen. And he called me, Dave. He called me a couple months later and he said, Lamont, he go, I did what you told me to do. He go, and I reached out to an electrician in the area, and he was saying the guy did not know how to get the phone to ring.
Hmm.
Okay, so I built a website, I got leads coming in, and I gave it to him, Dave. The owner of that, the owner of that the company, the electrician, gave him 50% ownership of that business, man.
Hmm.
Wow.
He gave him 50% ownership. He said, because you came at me at such a time where I was getting ready to close my doors
Wow.
and you infused life into my business. So I want you to benefit long term. You
Amazing.
just you just never know.
Yep. You never know. You never know. I tell you, that's you can see why I wanted Lamont on the show.
Yes.
He's an inspiration to me, and I'm sure that he will be to our listeners out there, Dave. They here's a guy that worked hard, saw opportunity, and did something about it. There's so many people out there right now that are miserable in their jobs, and Lamont, you know that, and
Yeah.
they're doing things they don't believe in what they're doing. They're not happy. They come home every night. They're miserable, and I think they live miserable lives because of it. And you said, "Hey, I don't like what I'm doing. I'm going to do something else," and you found a way to go do it, and
That's
you've been
it.
successful at every mark, and everything you've done. And the one thing that is so cool about Lamont, Dave, is that everybody likes Lamont. He's a class act. He is a gentleman. He handles himself well. He respects people, and he loves the Lord. So you can tell that you're around a guy. Lamont and I can sit in a meeting for 5 hours, and you'll never hear a cuss word. And
No.
that's a real pleasure because we don't need that in our lives, and he doesn't. He's a great guy, but wonderful story. So tell me, how's your son doing now?
Yeah. So
Tell him just tell him quickly what your son's saying.
So
I think
yeah,
it's
so this is part of it too. So one day my son he said, Dad, do we got any work for the for this week coming up? I go, yeah, because I guess so so what he did was I sent him out with one of the crews, and when he got there, the crew leader told him, hey, I need you to pack the fence in the backyard, and I need you to put it in the front yard. So he put in a full day's work, and he came home. He go, Dad, wait a minute. He go, wait. He go, man, I'm starting to think I was a laborer out there.
he said we own the company. Why am I working like that?
I go, yeah, man. I'm glad you figured that out, man. Because yeah, they don't need your brain, they need your back, man.
Right.
They got the other part figured out until you learn, right? So
Yeah.
Very, very cool. The other part I wanted to point out is, and Richard, you started to say it when Lamont said it, was the story about rolling down the window and asking the question when you found your mentor in pharmaceutical sales. It being in media, we had a lot of interns that would come through, and I would always be amazed at the amount of people who would come through. They'd be there for a semester, so 3 or 4 months, and they
Right,
would leave, and you would know nothing about them. They wouldn't have told you anything, right?
right,
Because I was the intern who made sure every single person there knew who I was and what I wanted to do. Because how else were they going to help me? But sometimes you have to take that step. So now I try and reach out anyone who reaches out to me about possibly coming in to shadow or intern. I
yeah.
tell them yes. And the reason is you reached out, you took the step because most people won't.
Man, Dave, that's it right there, right? It doesn't happen by osmosis, man.
Yeah.
You gotta. But the thing is when you believe in it, then action follows, though. So I think almost I don't know, but it's a level of belief, right? So like you just got to believe, you got to have faith, man, that you are more than enough, right? That you can get it done, and you don't have to all the answers, and you got to be comfortable being uncomfortable, right? Oh, true story. So this is a joke. So the first commercial lead that came in from residential, right? So it was a guy. He called me. Oh man, he called me up. He said, "Lamont, man, do you do commercial fencing, right?" I go, "Yeah, man, of course." He said, "Okay, I want you to come in." I knew nothing about commercial fencing at the time. He go, he said, "I want you to come in, and then that way we can kind of go over the scope of the job, right?" And it was, have you heard of Lonza, Richard? It's,
No.
it's like a big old pharmaceutical company, man, here in Pearland. And so I go to the meeting, and when I go to the meeting, I didn't know it, but it was another fence contractor there, and the guy looked like he was seasoned, man. You know what I mean?
He knew the business.
I was like, I said, this would be very interesting. So we went to the boardroom, big old boardroom. So we sit down, and he started telling us the scope of the work, and they wanted some boring done, and they wanted some gate operators, and all this stuff I never heard before. Thank God. Okay, the guy that was in there with me was a talker, and he was a know-it-all. Okay,
He gave you
hey,
all the
hey,
answers.
there's always a ram in the bush, right? So as he was talking, I was just like this here. He trained me for the other commercial work that I was getting ready to do. So, hey, we just took it on the chin, man, and we learned we had to learn, even to the point where we went out together to measure the fence. So I had one of these little residential rollers, and he come out here with this big old commercial roller. After that meeting, I went to Home Depot, man, and upgraded my my fence roller.
Oh man, that's called
No,
learning on
we was
the
ready,
job.
man. So and we didn't look back, man. We've the best lesson that I learned with the fencing was we had about 5 crews that really counted on us to feed their family, and I never experienced that before. Okay, and even at that level, to know that a vision that I had executed, and now guys were relying on that to buy groceries. Man, that was just like, wow, that's a whole nother level, right? And so yeah, man, anything's possible, if you're willing to do the work. So
Well, it's a great story. You look, there are a lot of folks out there right now that will be listening to this podcast for hopefully a long time to come. And we one of the things Dave and I talk about, you don't have to be everything AI and everything, built off of some kind of digital platform. There are industries out there that are fantastic. And I've got to say this, that are, like you said, fencing business. That's one, and that's still a great business.
it's a great
That-
business.
yeah, we have, I have a very interesting guest coming on next week. And Dave, I want to take a moment and talk about it. And he is running incubators all over the city of Houston. He's going to talk about that. He teaches entrepreneurship at a major university here in Houston. Really a smart guy and has done some incredible things. And so I went into his operation and I saw all of, all these companies that are incubating in his offices, and he provides all the support services for those companies. And he had this idea. And he was such a great student. And after he got his MBA, they hired him to teach. But what an interesting guy. He's going to be on next week, and so I was talking to him. I said, "What kind of businesses are you looking for?" He said, "Look, I'm trying to buy," and he started naming off these businesses, and a lot of them were like your fence business, like drywall and different things.
Yeah.
You know, uh, and he said, "No," he said, "some of the best businesses you can buy, they don't have to be high tech, but they produce good, income." And his goal is to have own parts or pieces or all of multiple companies. He's going to talk about it, and those companies generating what you talked about, Lamont, residual income to him, so that he's
Yes.
not out there actually putting the fences up, but he owns part of the fence company, and as they build that company and grow and do more jobs, he's getting income off of that. So he's a true entrepreneur as well, and he teaches entrepreneurship. But I think having you on today is kind of set the stage for him coming on. He's going to be on next week. I'm real excited about what he's going to bring to the table, and there's a
Yeah.
lot that he's going to talk about. But uh, I
Yeah.
think you're a great example of a guy that's worked hard, has come a long ways, has been very, very smart, taken advantage of opportunities, kept the faith, believed in doing all the right things. And you're in a situation now with the business that you have and I don't want to go into the details of it, but his biologic company, by the way, is cutting edge. Let me
Mhm.
just say that because I know you don't want to get your products out and talk about all that. But
Right.
I'm telling you, Dave, this man has got a cutting edge company. He's doing some great, great things.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's
Richard,
fantastic.
yeah. Can I leave that with one thing too? So like one of the things that, like I say, the guy who shared with him the lead gen strategy, right? So if you got guys, or whether you want to do the work or you want to have a digital strategy, but one way to generate cash fairly quickly is understanding the power of digital marketing, right? So with lead gen, so you can put up one website, okay, take you a day to put it up. You can optimize that website. As leads start coming in, okay, you can do two things. It's virtual real estate on the intersection of what you do and where you do it, right? That's virtual real estate. Okay. So now you have a digital asset. And that digital asset produces more residual income than if you own the real property in most cases. Okay. So you can do that, get that site ranked, and then you can either lease it monthly to a contractor at $1,000 a month, $1,500 a month, or you can sell leads individually, right? So check this out. You build a site, take you a week. I just said a week. Doing quicker would take you a week. Well, once you get that site leased for $1,000, you do that 10 times. Now you got 10K coming in.
Wow.
So it's whatever you can imagine, and you learn. It's so many ways you can scale it. You know what I mean? So one of my sons, that's what we do. You know what I mean? He does that. He's on that part of it too. But at the end of the day, you know, you can do it, man. Just got to get it done.
Yeah,
So
that's it. You just said it, nailed it right at the end. You got to get it done. You have to, you can't just be the person who comes up with the idea and think, why can't we do this? You got to get your hands dirty.
yep,
You have to learn, right? I think as Richard keeps going back to, you learned a lot in the pharmaceutical industry, as Richard had learned a lot about with the first big company he was with. And there are people who really listen and really take in what's going on to learn it because they're thinking about bigger things and down the road. And again,
right,
you have people who are, essentially worker bees who will do what's, told of them or asked of them from nine
yep,
to five, Monday through Friday, and that's it. And that's why the world goes around. We have all
yep.
kinds.
You know
And I
what?
tell you, I tell you what, Dave, hey, you start hanging around the right guys like Dave and Richard. You know what I mean? If you walk under the cloud, man, you can get wet too. You know what I mean? So
Hey, this guy, he's another Hunter Carr. He's going. I'm telling you, he will be. If we come back to him in 10 years, he will have had five more different branches and companies and
yeah,
different things because his mind never stops. He's got an idea of the week. I listen to him all the time. And our favorite saying is, if you go do that, you'll be glad you did. Is that right, Lamont?
Yeah, yeah,
That's a
Rich,
problem.
hey, Rich,
That's a
or
problem we
they're
have.
gonna pay us to pay us.
Yeah, and that's the other one we have. You got to get somebody to pay you. How do we say it? Pay us to pay us.
Yeah, they're gonna pay us to pay us, man.
Yeah, that's what I always strive for. I strive for like to be a NFL head coach who gets fired with 4 years left on his contract. How do you get that job?
There's a lot of that going around these days, but also college coaches.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
But that's hey, and Lamont hit it right on the head, man. Create a business where you get equity in it. In other words, they pay you, to 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 pay you, and put yourself in that situation, but also go make it happen.
We'll make it happen.
Step out on faith and believe in yourself. That I think, that's the biggest thing in the mind. You got to believe in
Yeah,
yourself. You said something that I really liked. You said something about, about the pain of, going through you're going to have this struggle and you're going to have this pain and you're going to have all this fear, but I believe the true entrepreneur just doesn't care.
no,
I mean, you don't have no fear. You don't have the fear.
no,
If you have a lot of fear and a lot of anxiety and you got a problem, you probably shouldn't be doing it.
nope,
Real
nope.
entrepreneur just doesn't have the fear. He just says, "I'm going to go do this. I'll
You,
figure it."
you know, and the thing about it is too, and like say stepping out on faith and you know, like at the beginning, right? God wanted to walk with Adam and Eve in the garden, right? So even today, God want to walk with us on a daily basis, right? So as long as you're lined up, right? You got the divine alignment and God's perfect timing, and you just understand certain principles, right? And you operate under certain principles to where you don't put money ahead of the relationship, right? You don't put money ahead of things, of people, honoring people and serving people. You can't miss, right? And now when you get up, when you see your phone ring, you're happy to answer it, man, because you just loving on people, and you living, you conducting business the way, number one, the way God wants us to conduct a business, right? But also in a way to where we can be profitable and we don't, for me is, and I'm sure Richard is the same way and you're the same way as me, and we don't do it for our first name, we do it for our last name, right? We do it for the people that's coming behind us, right? So we want to do it in a manner to where we can share how we did it, right?
Always honor your family.
Yes.
If you
So,
honor your family, you're going to be in a good place all the time.
Mm,
Pretty simple process, isn't it?
so,
it absolutely is. Well, as we wrap up this edition of Scrushy on Business, Lamont, I'm going to ask you this: what in just one piece of advice that you would
yeah.
give to somebody who's out there who was young Lamont, young Dave, young Richard, has it in them, just hasn't taken that leap yet? What would you advise?
Um, I would advise them to ask themselves a hard question, right? To say, okay, what are my gifts? What are my talents, right? Not what someone else gifts, what their talents are. What are my gifts? What can I bring to the marketplace? And then once you identify what you can bring to the marketplace, then you want to figure out how many people can I serve. The more people you serve, right? Now you find your purpose, and once you get your purpose, it's not work.
Not work. There you go.
He's right about that. Well, it was
Yep.
great having you on and hearing your story, Richard. You were absolutely right. It was a great story to hear, and I'm sure our listeners enjoyed it as well. And as always, we give you the last word.
Well, look, thank you, Lamont. You've been a blessing in my life just knowing you. You encourage me. I pray that you and believe that you've encouraged a lot of young folks and a lot of people out there today. And I can't thank you enough for coming on the show. Hope you'll come back. And
Okay.
I always like to end with, follow that dream because there's a lot of people out there that have the dream. And just like you said, you got to step out on faith. And I'm
Got
saying,
to.
hey, you're a great example. Thanks again.
Awesome.
And just like Lamont West, make sure if you are watching us on YouTube, you hit that subscribe button and the little bell to get the notifications of when Scrushy on Business is posting new content. And of course, you can follow us on all major podcast outlets as well. And always email info@scrushyonbusiness.com if you'd like to have your questions answered by Mr. Richard Scrushy. Again, our thanks to Lamont West, and we'll be back next week with another edition of Scrushy on Business.